Sometime 12 weeks ago, I got on a plane to Athens and I landed and I checked the footy score and the Eagles were up by 4 or 5 goals against the Melbourne Footy Club. I started roaming, pain through the nose for my data to follow the second half. I saw Harley Reid kick goal of the freaking year and Jake Waterman kick a bag, and literally got so excited about that victory that I couldn't help but sit on the balcony of my hostel and record an iPhone review of that game. And I remember wearing sunnies and being a real dick about it. And I was putting on a persona a little bit to be funny. And I was pretending to be the Eagles fan who was letting this win get to his head. And I think I made comments like Harley Reid is the greatest player of all time, which some people didn't take as a joke. And, saying things like, we may never lose again. And, I don't think the gentleman in that video was aware of what the next 12 weeks would look like going for this football club. And I wouldn't have imagined it would take so long to get another win, and that will come at the cost of our coach in such... Well, it's been an insipid 12 weeks for the most part. There's been flashes here and there, but it's nice to get a little bit of reward for that, a little bit of validation. And now, that's 3 out of 4 weeks that I think under Scofield, we have really turned a corner. Now, I'm not going to fool myself into thinking this is the start of something new, but we have to embrace the victory when it's here. I've been saying for a while, when you're not used to winning or we become really accustomed to losing, the wins mean so much more. And I think what will live long in the memory for this win was the gutsiness of it. I think if you compare it to some of our other wins this year, the Derby probably takes the cake. Harley Reid going mental, Jake Waterman again. Even the Richmond win was good. Beating Melbourne was exceptional in its own right. Gold Coast were not necessarily the highest ranked team that we were going to beat this year, but the resilience we showed in that game, the way it flowed was really interesting. We kicked 2 of the first 3, I reckon. And then from that point, Gold Coast kind of got ahead of us, probably left some scores on the board. I think they were very fumbly and double touched tonight as a result of the pressure. And that's great to see that 3 out of 4 weeks, our pressure has been outstanding. And that is something that Scofield probably can take credit for. I said on the live stream, I likened it to when you're playing with like a sibling or my niece and nephew when they're trying to rough you up. My nephew's 5, so his testosterone is starting to go through the roof and he just wants to punch me in the balls all the time. So you put your hand on his forehead and he's just going like that. That was what it felt like Gold Coast was doing to us in this game. And I kind of, justifiably so, I think, expected us to push them close and maybe just fade away, as has been the tale for many of our losses this season, particularly in the last 12 weeks or so. But we didn't do that, and this game felt different, and it's easy to say in hindsight. I don't know if I felt that coming at the time, but there was something different about this game. We were unwilling to let it go, and that probably is just a different dimension to this team we haven't seen this year. Sure, in our wins, we looked amazing and, dominating contested ball kick and amazing goals, unearthed Jake Waterman, unearthed Harley Reid. This one, I think a lot of the credit has to go to the senior players. I was looking through the team list to try and isolate some individuals that I didn't even bother because there's just too many to name. We'll go through a few. But the desire to not let this game go and push to the end, even with 3 minutes to go, we trailed. That comeback, it's just added something this team has not done for a long time. One of our best wins in a long time. And I know that you're really looking at 8 wins since Josh Kennedy sunk Richmond, I reckon. No, maybe it's 8 wins since the start of 22. The Collingwood at Marvel game stands out. A few of our wins this year have been outstanding, but this one was arguably maybe second in gutsiness to that Collingwood one. It was just brilliant and satisfying, and it was great to see the senior players perform as a collective. Liam Duggan was a player that I kind of flamed early in the game. Skill levels off. I just felt like his polish or lack thereof just was what is holding him back from being an A-grade player. But the way he finished that game was like a true captain. That goal he kicked might be the best of his career. It was clutch, but even before that, there was a breakaway run he did that opened up the game for us that we lack. Like when he did that, I was like, I forgot Duggan could do that. We don't see that from Eagles in general. So he deserves a massive amount of credit. Jack Darling played his best game in a long time. 22 possessions, 9 marks, 7 tackles. Jack Darling, if you're doing that, or, it doesn't have to be this output every week, but if you're bringing that level, then you can stay in the team, okay? So I got that wrong. I wanted Darling to be dropped, but I'm glad we kept him in this week and he produced a performance like that, because what you see is As we go through the list of senior players, man, Elliot Yeo was unreal. Liam Duggan, darling, like I said. Tim Kelly was pretty good, 31 touches and 8 clearances. Cripps, probably not outstanding, but probably better than what he's been producing the last few weeks. And obviously that clutch goal. As an aside, when Jamie Cripps got the ball in the pocket, you can see in the stream, I say, this is his bread and butter, because I know in the clutch moments, Jamie Cripps does deliver, even though, he's been pretty fumbly of late. Oscar Allen, probably not even that noticeable tonight. It's 15 touches, 2 goals, 5 marks and 3 tackles. Very passable. Jake Waterman, one of the best on ground as well, 4 goals. It's just so impressive to see this purple patch just continue. Now it's becoming the status quo. This is what we expect from Jake Waterman just about every week. He's been sensational. And I'm really focusing on senior players. McGovern was huge. I thought Liam Ryan played a part as well. And that's before you get to some of the younger players. So actually, I'll finish that point first. My point was that when the senior players play like that and are animalistic in their pursuit of the ball and their contest, and the pressure was well up again in this game, it brings the younger guys into the game. And you look, I went to this game after the selection was announced, so post-preview, when I saw how young our bench was. I mean, we were carrying 3 at least guys with single-digit game tallies, maybe 4. I'm not sure where Dane True sits, but, Clay Hall debutant, Harvey Johnson's probably played his 3rd game, 3rd or 4th. Tyrell Dewar the same. And Zane True probably around the 10 mark. I thought, okay, this team probably is going to be a little bit too top-heavy to be able to win this. But you saw that the collective effort of those senior players and a few other young guys I'll touch on, really brought those other guys into the game. So, I mean, Harvey Johnston, as the game went on, I think he had 1 touch for like a quarter and a half. And then everything he did after that, I don't know if he made a mistake, but if he did, I don't remember it. He was just composed, hitting targets. That is the sort of luxury that this team, or the youngsters in this team, should ideally be afforded. It's not going to happen every week, but they've probably been missing that very consistently over the last 3 weeks. And you just see with the senior guys lifting, Harvey Johnston plays his best game at the level. Tyrell Dewar, 9 touches and a couple of goals. Like good goals as well in terms of like the context of the game. Clay Hall's debut went all right as well, only the 5 touches, but again, just looked like he had a bit of composure. And I think he probably, along with the other young guys in this team, walked a little bit taller because of how the team played around him. I'll also highlight Harley Reid, who we kind of forget is a youngster because he's one of our most important players. 17 touches. I don't think that reflects how well Harley Reid played and how important he was. 94% efficiency as well. And I think, the way he breaks play up as well, just by absorbing a tackle, you almost think he's going to get tackled and he doesn't. And of course, he got wrapped up once in this game. He gave away holding the ball. Maybe it was 2. But I reckon 9 out of 10 times, he puts us in a better position when he tries to fend off. So I'll take the good with the bad with Harley Reid. I thought it was a good performance. It was not a medium performance. It was good. 17 disposals and very high impact. Ruben Jinby probably played his best game for the club as well. And I do think as time goes on, I reckon we just let him cook in the back line. That might be his best position. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we don't need him to be a midfielder. And if we can unearth him as a bit of a tall marking, makeshift third tall defender who can use his pace, speed and endurance to rebound on the back 50 and be an aerial factor down back, like that's actually a pretty damn good asset to have. And it frees us up to draft midfield again this year. So happy with Jinby there, 400 metres gained from 22 possessions. And I reckon we just let him settle there for at least the rest of the season and, ideally longer. And I think Brady Hoff's composure in this game, outstanding again, 50th game. It's nice to get a win in a milestone game for a start, but I'd highlight him as another player who, again, we forget that he's young because he's now become one of the most reliable players. And I've just mentioned so many guys in this team. I was flaming Withered a little bit earlier in this game. I think he made some mistakes in the first half in particular. The fact that we won makes me care a lot less. And I think ideally speaking, we don't make any unforced changes for next week. And I think if you're Petrocelli or Hutchinson, unlucky, you got suspended at a bad time, and I would just keep a lot of this team together. There will be some forced changes. We know Harry Edwards got a concussion. Not sure what happened to Oscar Allen's finger. I think he played out the game. Can't remember if Harley Reid came back on in the last quarter. I think he would have after he had a finger injury. So we'll see what happens there. But for the most part, just feels good to win again, man. And it's just an interesting correlation again. Not interesting. It makes perfect sense that we won the contested ball by 20 and we win the game. And that is what we've built our game around, winning contested ball, and it's been found wanting too much. It's not just that we're not dominating teams in contested ball. We've been butchered in many games since we were top 2 in the competition in the first couple of months of the season. Inside 50s, we also had a little bit less, but they have a really high inside 50 team, Gold Coast. I think they were like second in the league for total inside 50s over the last 5 weeks. So we lost that 53 to 45. 45 is modest, but it's not bad. And you can just see that once again, we have really strong tools that are going to feature as part of this next generation of Eagles. It's still going to be a strength of ours, and we are very blessed for that reason. Oscar Allen, Jake Waterman, and Jack Williams, who I almost forgot to mention, another outstanding game. And I am continually impressed at how good this player is. He doesn't really make mistakes. He makes contests. He takes strong marks. He gets goals in general players in crumbing situations. I thought he held his own really well against Jared Witts, and both rucks obviously got monstered by Witts. He had a big impact on the game. But man, we've got some good young tools. You can really start to see that being a real strength for this team once again going forward, like it was around that 2018 period. Oscar Allen, Jack Williams, Jake Waterman, Jack Darling at the moment, who's just coming off a great game. We've got Archery developing. Well done, West Coast, for drafting a couple of gems in Jack Williams and Noah Long with late selections. We also won the clearance count. We got absolutely mauled in that stat last time we played them, albeit without Harley Reid, but Harley Reid wasn't even the factor for that. Let's see who our biggest clearance winners were. Tim Kelly, Elliot Yeo, Liam Duggan. Jack Williams won 4 clearances. That's right. I think it was in the 3rd term he started just dragging the ball out of the ruck and bombing it forward, and it worked pretty well. Bailey also had 4. Harley Reid had 4. It's a very, very good win, and I really enjoyed the live stream, sharing that with Eagles fans and non-Eagles fans alike. It's nice to break that up. I haven't live streamed an Eagles win since when did we beat Collingwood? Round 4, 2022? Something like that. That was the last time I streamed an Eagles win. So 2.5 years. So it was nice having everyone there along with the journey. I really enjoyed it. Win, lose or draw, those are fun. I'm happy for the boys. I know that sounds really cliche, but you just see the morale and how happy, especially the young guys, were in that team to enjoy a dub on a Friday night. As an aside, plenty of people made jokes about West Coast playing Gold Coast at Optus Stadium on a Friday night, and I was one of them. I thought the joke was there to be made. Tell you what, that delivered. That was an outstanding game of footy for a neutral viewer, and definitely exceeded the Bulldogs and Melbourne game, which was fairly one-sided in the end. So Jared Scofield has put together a pretty good 4 weeks. Now, I am reluctant to conclude that the improvement in form is purely just down to the changing coach. I think we see time and time again, caretaker coaches do get a response out of players. Think back to Carlton and David Teague when I think they let go of Bolton, they replaced him with Teague, they finished the year really well. David Teague was sacked within a couple of years. My point being not that Jared Scofield's no good, just to be careful extrapolating what we're seeing right now as being the new thing. However, I liked Scofield prior to his appointment. I do hope he's a serious contender. And I do think that there's a couple of aspects to what I like about Scofield. First of all, I heard that West Coast higher-ups, where did I hear this? I think it might have been Backchat. I think it might have been Ryan Daniels on Backchat this morning. Said they were very pleased with the way that Scofield talked about Harley Reid last week after the Derby, saying they want to harness that aggression and play on the edge. If you extrapolate that has been the brand of Jared Scofield's West Coast Eagles in the 4 weeks. I mean, the St Kilda game aside, look how many scuffles we get into, and there's genuine aggression there, and I think that does sum up Jared Scofield's playing style. So it's interesting to see how long we can continue that. One downside from this game that I didn't want to focus on, because hey, it's cause for celebration. We haven't won a game in 3 months. But 50-metre penalties, we give up way too many. It's really frustrating, and it's been costly. But there is a spirit and a fire to this Eagles side. Now, how sustainable is it? Well, that was a bruising game, a war of attrition. We've had 3 out of those in the last 4 games. To throw a bit of an excuse Schofield's way for the St Kilda game, if you had to take out like all the senior players at West Coast and which one would do the most damage to our best 22, you'd go McGovern and you'd go Yeo and you'd go Waterman, and Duggan probably features close to the top. All those guys missed against St Kilda. Other than that, we've been pretty good. But I don't know how sustainable it is for us to put in superhuman efforts. I felt like a number of senior players put in superhuman efforts. If they can just bridge that gap between when we get belted and what we did tonight, then it will facilitates a easier rebuild and for our youngsters in particular. So we've got North next week, and dare I say it, it's winnable. Now, I'm not going to tip us, and we will talk about the North game as we get closer to it. North haven't even played this weekend. But, we are a chance. It'll be tough to back that up, that effort. But hey, it's nice to have a little bit of legitimacy when I say a game is winnable now. Don't worry, I won't tip us. I didn't tip us against Gold Coast, and that made all the difference, I think. But yeah, we've pretty much sewn up not finishing on the bottom spots. I mean, nothing's impossible at this point. There's still 3 games to go, but we could still mathematically finish second last if North beat Richmond and beat us, and then our percentage takes a hit. We do have games against Carlton and Geelong to finish the year. So we'll see what happens, but regardless, pretty much avoided the spoon now. Happy with that. It's been, I wouldn't say it's been a good year, but, that does provide some happy memories, I think. That was a really good win, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you all in the comments what you thought. I didn't possibly cover everything from this game. I'm looking forward to seeing different perspectives of what happened. It's a little bit of a blur. Normally I take longer to digest the game. I wanted to record it pretty soon after. So let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Go Eagles!